Well, welcome along to another themed week here on Property Tribes, which we are calling Business Risk Mitigation Week. And this is really in keeping with our overarching theme for 2019, which is smart landlords. And one thing that smart landlords do is mitigate their business risk. Now, there are a number of different types of business risk that landlords need to be aware of and mitigate against. They are financial risk, regulatory risk, and also the risk of encountering rogue tenants or rogue agents or suppliers. And over the coming week, we're going to be talking about those different types of risk and how you can mitigate against them. Now, one really good way to mitigate against business risk is to insure correctly against it. And joining me to discuss that is our award-winning insurance partner, Alan Boswell Group, and I'm joined by Rob Guy. And Rob, I know that Alan Boswell will be very keen to be involved with this week of themed content because, as I said, insurance, well, it's so important for landlords to understand and get the right level of cover for the activity they're doing.
Yeah, it is absolutely critical that the right insurances are taken out. And we at Alan Boswell Group, we're totally independent and we love to speak to landlords. We know our trade and our craft and we will guide them to avoid any mishaps sort of further downstream. A lot of landlords we have contact with, especially, should we say, novice landlords, their biggest concerns very much are the tenant trashing the property and then very much the tenant not paying the rent. That seems to be a very common theme from discussions that we have, and both those risks can be insured away. So this helps the landlord build their business from one property, giving them the confidence to maybe push on and buy a second and a third and a fourth property. The dynamics of their models can change. Certain landlords may be tempted to go down the HMO route, so house of multiple occupancy, and that is again a different type of insurance that is needed. It brings a different dynamic. There's a lot more involvement from a landlord's perspective in that regard, but that's another area that we can provide the correct levels of cover for. With recent tax legislations, Section 24, certain landlords are deciding to jump out of traditional lets to families and move into holiday homes should their location allow and permit that. And again, that is another specific type of insurance that we can cater for, fairly similar to Airbnb, which we're hearing a lot about in the news and media at the present time as well. Other products landlords may want to consider in that sort of residential type space could be rent guarantee insurance. So that provides them with the legal expenses cover that they need should an eviction of a tenant take place, and it will also pay for cover for missed rental payments. On top of that, there is home emergency covers that landlords can consider. So should there be an emergency at the middle of the night, which is usually the case, then the tenants, without interrupting the landlord, can pick up a telephone, speak to a contact centre, and they will assure them and arrange for some additional repair on that property to get them over that particular difficult point in time. So lots of things can be considered. Certain landlords may decide then to develop into commercial type insurances or commercial lets. So it could be simple offices or factories or shops. And again, we've got a provision to provide covers for that. But above everything else, we want to speak to landlords. It's our business. We love landlords. We truly need to understand what their goals and their ambitions are for the future, and what their current needs are, so we can shape the right level of cover for their particular portfolio set at this point in time. Sort of emerging risks with homes unfit for human habitation include directors' and officers' liability. And we're introducing that within our product set to cater for any legal needs that a landlord may be looking to fight in that arena. And the market continues to evolve. It really does in terms of insurance products, along with legislation.
Indeed, and typically landlords would phone you for a simple landlord insurance, but then they have the opportunity to add on all these kind of bolt-on policies, which further mitigate risk. And I think it's reasonable to say, Rob, that no matter how robust tenant referencing a landlord undertakes, at one point in their life they are going to come across a delinquent tenant. I know I've been in property myself for 15 years and I've come across 4 delinquent tenants. If you have the rent guarantee insurance in place, that protects you from that. And to be honest, for around £100 a year, to me it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, as we mentioned at the outset, it's one of the biggest fears that landlords have. And when we talk to landlords, we'll always, certain landlords may be ignorant, no disrespect to them, it's not their fault, but they're just not aware of the protections that exist with regard to the insurance products that are available. We know some of the direct players are advertising rent guarantee insurance quite heavily. And I think for the industry, that's been a really, really positive development. So although they are competitors of ours, and competition is good in the marketplace, it has brought the ability of that product to the mindset of landlords. Historically, we had to talk up rent guarantee, we had to talk up the home emergency covers, but people are coming to us now really as a lead product and asking, can you do rent guarantee insurance? Yes, we certainly can, and we do that on the back of our landlords' buildings insurance products. So, yeah.
Fantastic. I think one of the other things I picked up from you earlier, and again this does come under the banner of business risk, is it's so important to have the right insurance for the activity that you're undertaking, and that means being very honest when you phone up to take out insurance about what you're actually doing at the property, because obviously if you had single occupancy buy-to-let insurance and it turned out you were running a holiday let, then if you tried to make a claim, you might get pushed out.
Absolutely. So honesty and being totally truthful with the type of business you are running is absolutely critical. And indeed, we have a number of landlords that come to us and they just think that their traditional residential home insurance is sufficient for the rental arena, and it's absolutely not. And insurance companies could be within their rights to refuse to make a claim because they haven't been notified about the true nature of the occupancy of that particular product. Also very true in the commercial space. So if you suggest you're letting your property out as a florist, that is one risk. If you're letting your property out as
a restaurant,
absolutely, a very, very different risk presents itself from the material damage aspect and also the liability aspect. Those two trades are poles apart.
Indeed.
So so just declaring, the technical term is declaring all facts that are material to the risk, and we'll sort of tease that out of our landlords. We'll stress the importance of being open and honest because we need to ensure that they are purchasing the right product at the right price from us. And again, in some way, that's sort of a business risk or a way to mitigate sort of business risks. You're not focusing on something that's not core, that you're not comfortable with. We take ownership of all of that and we'll move it forward for our clients.
Indeed. I mean, when it comes to insurance, Rob, it's always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. And I think certainly when it comes to business risk, we can't underestimate how good insurance is for mitigating against it. Hopefully we never get that call that the property has burnt down or that the tenant has hurt themselves, but no landlord would ever want to get those kind of calls and then find that they didn't have the insurance cover to protect them against it. And this is why I think we're so keen to stress that landlords do need to be very clear about the level of cover they need, and you're here to guide guide them and your team help them understand their own particular portfolio and the kind of risks they're facing and how they can insure against them, because there's really not any property risk that I can think of that can't be insured against.
And we often say to people, running a buy-to-let business, even if it's just one property, it is a business. You've got to regard it as a business. And if financially, if you have a mortgage secured upon that property, and a tenant starts defaulting on payments, there's only so much of a money pot that you've got before the inevitable may happen if it takes a long time to evict that tenant. So just protect yourself as best you can from the material damage, the buildings insurance, the rent guarantee, the home emergency, the directors and officers insurance, and this is one of those payments that is tax deductible.
Of course.
One of the few that remain at the moment. So yeah, although the premium is X, then there is a substantial tax discount that will come off that, and landlords need to be aware of that as well. So.
Indeed, and I just want to once again highlight one particular thing you've mentioned, and that was the directors and officers insurance, because that's a relatively new type of insurance that's come out. And on Property Tribes, we've had a lot of landlords rather concerned that tenants are going to sue landlords falsely under the Homes Fitness for Human Habitation Act. And again, having this kind of cover protects you against that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a new emerging product for us. So the our product set and what we're bringing to market just moves with times. It evolves, and we've got access to those products now, and we're happy to engage with landlords to talk about the possibility of taking cover out and what they may be exposed to in terms of homes fit for human habitation.
Indeed, a bit of a trending topic on Property Tribes. Well, that's brilliant, Rob. Thank you very much for joining me here on our Business Risk Mitigation Week, and hopefully you're going to take away from this interview how important landlord insurance is. And we're very fortunate at Property Tribes to be partnered with the Alan Boswell Group, because you guys have specialist teams here who can advise landlords and make sure that they have the right level of cover for their particular business risk.
I think the values of the Property Tribes members, the values of Property Tribes and Alan Boswell Group are all very, very closely interlinked.
Yes.
And I think it's a perfect team at the end of the day.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Rob, and we'll pop the phone number to call to come straight through to the Property Tribes support team here at Alan Boswell Group. And do stay tuned, because all this week we are going to be covering different ways that you can mitigate risk as a landlord. Insurance is just one of them. So do stay tuned as Business Risk Mitigation Week continues.